I'm Allison, 34, and last Tuesday my world imploded when I discovered an $88,000 charge on my premium credit card during a client meeting. My hands trembled as I scrolled through luxury hotel bookings and first-class flights, all authorized by my own parents for my sister Madison's European tour. After a lifetime of being the responsible one, this betrayal cut deep. What followed was a financial nightmare that would ultimately force me to choose between my family ties and my financial future. Before I tell you how I discovered my own parents betrayed my trust, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe if you've ever had to set hard boundaries with family who treated your wallet like a community resource. I grew up in a comfortable middle-class neighborhood in suburban Philadelphia, the eldest daughter in what appeared to be a normal American family. My parents, Robert and Diana, worked steady jobs, dad as a sales manager and mom as an elementary school teacher. We weren't wealthy, but we never struggled for necessities. However, from an early age, I noticed a distinct difference in how financial lessons were taught between me and my younger sister Madison. When I turned 16, I was immediately expected to get a part-time job. "You need to learn the value of $1, my father would say, while simultaneously buying Madison her first car on her 16th birthday. A brand new Honda Civic that I remember envying as I waited for the bus to take me to my after-school job at the local grocery store. This pattern continued throughout our lives. I worked my way through college at Penn State, juggling a full course load with 30 hours a week at a campus coffee shop and another 15 hours as a teaching assistant. My parents contributed what they could, about a quarter of my tuition, while I took out student loans for the rest. I lived in the cheapest dorm available, counted every penny, and graduated with $42,000 in student loan debt. Madison, 3 years after me, attended the same university. But her experience was dramatically different. Our parents somehow found the means to cover her entire tuition. She lived in the newer apartments off campus, joined a sorority, the dues for which my parents also covered, and worked only a few hours a week at a boutique for spending money. She graduated debt-free and moved back home while finding herself. I don't want to sound bitter. I truly believe then that perhaps my parents had learned from their experience with me, saved more aggressively, or maybe their financial situation had improved. I never questioned it because I was proud of what I had accomplished on my own. My struggle had built character, resilience, and financial discipline that served me well in my career. After college, I moved to Boston and started at the bottom of a financial advisory firm. 12 years of grinding, continuing education, professional certifications, and strategic career moves had positioned me as a senior financial advisor with a respected firm. I now earned a comfortable six-figure income, had fully paid off my student loans, owned a beautiful condo in Back Bay, and had built a solid investment portfolio. My specialty was helping high-net-worth clients manage their assets and plan for retirement. The irony that I advised others on wealth management, while my own family viewed me as their personal ATM, wasn't lost on me. The premium credit card at the center of the story was a recent acquisition. After reaching a certain income threshold and client portfolio size, my firm encouraged advisors to maintain appearances appropriate to our clientele. The Black Card, as it's colloquially known, came with exclusive benefits, concierge service, and significant travel rewards. I primarily used it for business dinners with clients, my own modest vacations, and occasional splurges. The annual fee was steep, but the benefits and points system made it worthwhile for my lifestyle. I had always been transparent with my family about my success, but private about the specifics. They knew I was doing well, but not exactly how well. This was intentional. I'd learned early that financial boundaries with my family were necessary. Madison, now 27, had bounced between various jobs since college: retail management, marketing assistant, yoga instructor, never sticking with anything longer than a year. She lived in a nice apartment in Philadelphia that our parents subsidized, drove a car they helped pay for, and generally maintained a lifestyle beyond what her income should allow. About 3 months ago, Madison announced at a family dinner that she had quit her latest job as a social media coordinator for a local business. Before anyone could express concern, she excitedly revealed her new plan, a 3-month tour of Europe, hitting all the major cities and several exotic destinations. Her eyes sparkled as she described the luxury hotels she'd been researching, the Michelin star restaurants she planned to visit, and the exclusive experiences she wanted to have. "It's going to be absolutely transformative," she gushed, scrolling through Instagram images of infinity pools overlooking the Mediterranean. "I need this journey of self-discovery before I decide on my next career move." I remember exchanging a quick glance with my husband Ethan, who subtly raised an eyebrow. We both knew what was coming next. "The only problem," Madison sighed dramatically, setting down her phone, "is that my savings won't quite cover everything I want to do. And you know how European hotels can be so basic if you don't book the right places." The table fell silent for a moment before my mother spoke up. "Well, I'm sure we can figure something out as a family," she said, her eyes sliding meaningfully toward me. "Allison, don't you have those travel points from your fancy credit card? You're always talking about how you never have time to use them all." I had mentioned my card's travel rewards exactly once, in passing, months earlier. "Actually, I'm planning to use those points for Ethan's and my anniversary trip next year," I replied calmly, taking a sip of water. "But Madison, I'd be happy to help you create a budget that could make a European trip work with your savings. There are plenty of wonderful, authentic experiences that don't require luxury accommodations." Madison's face fell immediately. "I don't want to stay in hostels or whatever. That's not the experience I'm looking for." "No one's saying hostels," I clarified. "There are charming, locally owned hotels that would give you a much more authentic." "Not everyone wants to pinch pennies like you, Allison," my mother interrupted. "Madison deserves to experience Europe properly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for her." I felt Ethan's hand squeeze my knee under the table, our signal for "let it go." I took a deep breath and changed the subject. That dinner was 2 weeks before the $88,000 charge appeared on my card. In the interim, I received several texts from both my mother and Madison about reconsidering helping with the trip, all of which I politely but firmly declined. I even sent Madison links to several European tour packages that would fit her stated budget of $15,000, which she dismissed as too basic. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Tuesday started like any other workday. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., went for my morning run along the Charles River, showered, and was at my office by 7:45. I had a packed schedule, including a 10 a.m. meeting with the Richardsons, a retired couple who had entrusted me with their $3.2 million portfolio. They were conservative investors who had worked diligently their entire lives to build their nest egg, and they counted on me to protect and grow their wealth for their retirement years. I had prepared a detailed presentation on some adjustments to their portfolio, accounting for recent market trends and their upcoming plans to purchase a winter home in Arizona. Everything was meticulously organized. The Richardsons appreciated thoroughness and attention to detail. At 10:15, as I was explaining a particularly complex tax advantage strategy, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I normally keep it on silent during client meetings, but I had set up special notifications for potential emergencies. This particular buzz pattern indicated an alert from my credit card company about unusual activity. My mind immediately jumped to potential fraud. It happens even with premium cards, but I couldn't step away from the Richardsons mid-presentation. I continued my explanation, trying to focus on the complex numbers in front of me while my phone buzzed again. And again. By the third buzz, Mrs. Richardson noticed my slight distraction. "Is everything all right, Allison? We can take a short break if you need to check that." Embarrassed but grateful, I excused myself for what I promised would be just a moment. Stepping into the hallway, I pulled out my phone to find multiple alerts from my credit card company about unusual spending activity. When I opened the app, my heart nearly stopped. The most recent charge had come through just minutes ago, $12,740 at Harrods in London. Before that, $22,500 for first-class round-trip tickets on British Airways. Before that, $32,000 in advance hotel bookings across various European capitals: Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Vienna, Amsterdam. There were smaller charges too. A $4,800 booking for a private yacht tour of the Greek islands, a $3,200 spa package at a resort in Switzerland, $5,800 at Louis Vuitton, and numerous restaurant reservations with deposits totaling over $7,000. All told, the charges added up to just over $88,000, all made within the last 24 hours. My hands shook as I immediately called the credit card company's dedicated line for premium cardholders. After verifying my identity, I reported suspected fraud. "I'm seeing that these charges were authorized using your security code, Ms. Walker," the representative said. The card wasn't reported stolen, and the authentication codes were correctly entered. "Was your card lost or compromised in any way?" "No, it's in my wallet right now," I replied, pulling it out to confirm. "I haven't authorized any of these charges." "I understand. Let me check something else." I could hear typing in the background. "It appears the charges were made online, but the verification was done through the phone number we have on file for your account. The authentication codes were sent via SMS and correctly entered." A cold dread washed over me. Only 3 people had access to both my card details and my phone: myself, my assistant Brooke, for booking business travel, and, in case of emergencies only, my mother. I ended the call with the credit card company, promising to call back after investigating further. First, I texted Brooke. "Did you make any charges on my black card in the last 24 hours? Her response was immediate. "No, absolutely not." "Is something wrong?" With trembling fingers, I called my mother. The call went straight to voicemail. I texted her next. "Mom, I need you to call me immediately about an emergency with my credit card." While waiting for her response, I stepped back into the conference room long enough to apologize to the Richardsons and ask to reschedule. They were understanding, if concerned, and I promised to call them later that day. Back at my desk, my phone pinged with a text from my mother. "We'll discuss this when you calm down. Your sister deserves this trip." I stared at the message in disbelief. It wasn't a denial. It wasn't confusion about what I was referring to. It was an admission. I called again. Voicemail. I texted back. "You used my credit card without permission for Madison's trip? That's theft. $88,000 of theft." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Don't be so dramatic. We're family. We knew you wouldn't help willingly because you've always been selfish with your money. You'll thank us later when you see how this trip transforms your sister." I felt physically ill. The room seemed to spin around me. I called my father next, hoping for some rationality. He didn't answer either. A new text came in, this time from Madison. "OMG, thank you. I knew you'd come through. Can't wait to send you pics from Paris. Love you, sis." Attached was a selfie of her surrounded by shopping bags with designer logos. I sat at my desk, unable to move, trying to process what was happening. My family had effectively stolen $88,000 from me and were now acting as if I should be happy about it. As a financial advisor, I knew the ramifications went beyond the money itself. A charge this size would impact my credit utilization ratio. If disputed as fraud, it would trigger an investigation. If not disputed, I'd be responsible for payment. And the personal betrayal cut even deeper. I texted my mother one more time. "This is unacceptable. I'm coming over tonight. Be prepared to explain how you plan to repay this immediately." Her response was chilling. "Don't bother coming if you're going to be difficult. This is a family investment in Madison's future. If you were less obsessed with money, you'd see that." With shaking hands, I grabbed my keys and headed for the parking garage. The 2-hour drive to my parents' house in Philadelphia had never felt so long. The familiar streets of my childhood neighborhood felt alien as I pulled up to my parents' colonial-style home. The same house where I'd grown up, learned to ride a bike in the driveway, and later worked on college applications at the kitchen table. Now it felt like I was arriving at the scene of a crime, which, technically, I was. During the 2-hour drive from Boston, my mind had cycled through every emotion: shock, hurt, anger, betrayal, and finally, a cold determination. I had called Ethan on the way, and his outrage had validated my own. This is theft, Allison. Plain and simple. Don't let them twist this into anything else. I noticed 3 cars in the driveway, my parents' vehicles and Madison's Mini Cooper. At least I wouldn't have to track everyone down separately. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my car and approached the front door. I didn't bother knocking. The sound of laughter greeted me as I entered. My family was gathered in the living room. The scene that met my eyes stopped me cold in the doorway. My parents and Madison sat surrounded by shopping bags from luxury brands. An open bottle of champagne sat on the coffee table with 3 glasses. Madison was modeling what appeared to be a new designer coat. They froze when they saw me. The silence lasted only a moment before my mother spoke, her voice overly bright. "Allison, what a surprise. We weren't expecting you until the weekend." She glanced nervously at my father, who cleared his throat and stood up. "You know exactly why I'm here," I said quietly, my voice steadier than I felt. "I want an explanation for the $88,000 charged to my credit card." Madison bounced up, apparently misreading the situation entirely. "Isn't it amazing? I can't believe you did this for me. Look at everything I got for the trip." She gestured to the shopping bags. "I've already posted a thank you on Instagram. You're going to get so many new followers." "I didn't do anything for you," I said, my eyes not leaving my mother's face. "My card was used without my knowledge or permission." "That's fraud." My father stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. "Now, Allison, let's not throw around words like fraud. Your mother had access to your card information for emergencies, remember?" "This is not an emergency," I replied, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. "This is theft. $88,000 of theft." "We were going to tell you," my mother interjected, setting down her champagne glass. "We just knew you'd react exactly like this, all dramatic and accusatory." "Dramatic? You stole my credit card information and charged nearly $90,000 without my permission." Madison's smile had faded. "Wait, you didn't approve this?" "But Mom said." "Your mother lied," I cut in, finally looking at my sister. "She stole my card information, and apparently you were happy to benefit from it without even questioning whether I had actually agreed." "We didn't steal anything," my father insisted. "We're family. We help each other. And it's not like you can afford it with your fancy job and big Boston condo." The familiar dismissal of my hard work ignited something inside me. Whether I can afford it or not is completely irrelevant. This is my money earned through my work. You had no right to take it. "Take it?" My mother scoffed. "It's not like we're keeping it. We fully intend to pay you back." "When? How?" I demanded. "Dad just retired last year, and you're still teaching part-time. Where is $88,000 going to come from?" They exchanged another glance that sent a chill down my spine. "Well, not all at once, obviously," my father mumbled. "Over time. Eventually." "So you never actually planned to pay me back?" I realized aloud. "You just assumed I would eat the cost because we're family." Madison, looking increasingly uncomfortable, attempted to lighten the mood. "The points, though. You're getting so many reward points from this. And I'll totally take you on my next trip to thank you." I turned to her, incredulous. "You think reward points make up for $88,000 of unauthorized charges? Points that I was saving for my anniversary trip with Ethan." "You can still take your little anniversary trip," my mother said dismissively. "You'll have even more points now." "I don't understand why you're being so difficult about this." "Because it's theft," I nearly shouted. "And beyond the money, it's a complete violation of trust." "How could you do this?" My mother's expression hardened. Because you left us no choice. We asked you nicely to help your sister, and you refused. All that money sitting in your accounts, all those credit card perks going unused, and you couldn't spare any for your own sister's dream trip. I offered to help her plan a trip within her budget. A budget trip, Madison interjected with disgust. Staying in 2-star hotels and taking the subway. That's not the experience I deserve. The entitlement in her voice struck me speechless for a moment. When I found my voice again, it was deadly quiet. I want the charges reversed and every penny paid back. Now. My mother stood up, her eyes flashing. That's not happening. The flights are non-refundable, the hotels require a 60-day cancellation notice, and Madison needs this trip. Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with hoarding your money, you'd understand that some things are more important than your precious bank balance. Like what? Madison's Instagram photos from the French Riviera. Like family loyalty, my mother snapped. This trip is an investment in Madison's future. She needs this time to find herself and figure out her path. You were always so focused, so driven, you never needed this kind of support. Madison is different. Different? I repeated. You mean irresponsible. That's exactly the attitude we're talking about, my father interjected. You've always judged your sister instead of supporting her. I laughed bitterly. Supporting her? I offered actual help, budgeting advice, career connections. You're not supporting her, you're enabling her. And now you've stolen from me to do it. We didn't steal from you, my mother insisted. Consider this your contribution to your sister's well-being. God knows you've never voluntarily contributed before. The injustice of that statement hit me like a physical blow. I had bought Madison her laptop for college, helped with her car repairs multiple times, and even covered her rent for 2 months last year when she was between jobs. I want the money back, I repeated. All of it. Today. My mother's face hardened into an expression I'd never seen before, cold, almost cruel. Well, you're not getting it. The arrangements are made, and Madison is going on this trip. Consider this your punishment for being so cheap with your family all these years. Punishment. I echoed, stunned. Yes, punishment, she continued, warming to her theme. You've always been the selfish one, Allison. Keeping track of every little thing you do for others, never giving freely. It's time you learned what family really means. In that moment, something crystallized within me. I saw with perfect clarity what I'd been trying not to see for years. To my family, I wasn't a daughter or a sister. I was a resource to be tapped, an ATM with inconvenient opinions. I see, I said quietly. Thank you for making things so clear. I turned and walked out, ignoring their calls behind me. As I got into my car, a text came through from my mother. Don't be so dramatic. Come back inside and we'll discuss payment terms. I didn't respond. I had nothing left to say. The drive back to Boston was a blur. Tears streamed down my face intermittently as the full weight of the betrayal settled over me. Rain had started to fall, matching my mood as I navigated the highway on autopilot. I called Ethan from the road, using the car's Bluetooth. They're not sorry, I told him, my voice breaking. They actually think they're entitled to my money. My mother called it my punishment for being cheap with my family. That's insane, Ethan responded, his voice tight with anger. Are they planning to pay you back at all? They said, eventually, but I could tell they have no actual plan. They're treating this like I'm overreacting to them borrowing $20. It's theft, Allison. Plain and simple. When I finally arrived home, Ethan was waiting with a glass of wine and takeout from my favorite Thai place, though I had no appetite. I sat on our sofa, staring at my phone as notifications continued to roll in. Text messages from my parents and Madison alternating between guilt-tripping, minimizing the situation, and expressing frustration at my overreaction. One message from Madison particularly twisted the knife. I don't understand why you're being so weird about this. It's just money, and you have plenty. Don't you want me to be happy? Just money. $88,000 was just money to them. As a financial advisor, I knew better than most the value of money, not just as currency, but as security, as freedom, as the physical manifestation of work and time. Each dollar represented minutes of my life spent building my career, serving my clients, applying my expertise. And my family had taken 88,000 of those dollars without a second thought. "This isn't the first time, is it?" Ethan asked quietly, sitting beside me. The question made me pause. I scrolled back through my mental history with my family and financial boundaries. There was the time my mother borrowed my credit card to buy Madison a prom dress, $600 I hadn't authorized, but ultimately let go because it was a special occasion. The multiple occasions when my parents had asked for loans that were never repaid. The expectation that I would pick up the check at every family dinner because I made so much more than everyone else. "No," I admitted. "It's just the first time it's been this blatant, this large." Ethan took my hand. "Call Rachel," he suggested, referring to my best friend since college. "I love you, but I'm too angry to be objective. Rachel will help you see this clearly." He was right. Rachel had always been my voice of reason, particularly regarding family matters. As a therapist specializing in family dynamics, she had insights I valued. I called her, and she picked up immediately despite the late hour. After I explained the situation, she was quiet for a moment. "Allison," she finally said, her voice gentle but firm, "this is financial abuse." "Isn't that term usually used for spouses or elderly parents?" I asked. "It applies to any relationship where someone exploits financial control or access to harm or control another person. Your parents took your money without permission, refused to return it, then tried to make you feel guilty for objecting. That's textbook financial abuse." She continued, laying out what she was hearing with professional clarity. My family had established a pattern of financial entitlement, consistently dismissed my boundaries, and now had escalated to outright theft when I refused to comply with their demands. "And the punishment comment is particularly telling," she added. "It reveals that they believe they have the right to discipline you, a grown, independent woman, by taking your money. They're treating you like a child while simultaneously expecting you to financially support them like a parent." As Rachel spoke, I found myself mentally cataloging other incidents through this new lens. The time my father had pressed me for details about my salary and investment portfolio, then became angry when I politely declined to share specifics. The family meetings about financial matters that inevitably ended with expectations that I would contribute more than my share. The subtle digs about my money hoarding whenever I made a purchase for myself but declined to fund something for Madison. "What do I do now?" I asked Rachel. "First, you protect yourself," she said firmly. "This isn't just about the money, though that's significant. It's about establishing that your boundaries matter and there are consequences for violating them." After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time, processing. My phone continued to buzz with messages from my family, now shifting strategy. My father texted, "Your mother is very upset. You know how she gets. Let's all calm down and discuss this reasonably." Translation: "Come back and let us convince you to drop this." Madison posted a tearful Instagram story about family betrayal without naming me directly, but the timing made it obvious. 3 of our cousins texted me asking what was going on. My mother's latest message was the most manipulative. "I didn't raise you to be this selfish. I'm disappointed in the woman you've become." That was the breaking point. In that moment, I made my decision. I would not allow this to continue. I would not absorb this financial hit to keep the peace. I would not be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or gaslight into believing I was wrong for expecting basic respect for my boundaries. I texted my mother one final message: "What you've done is financial abuse and fraud. I've given you the opportunity to make this right. You've made your choice. Don't regret it later." Then I blocked all their numbers, at least temporarily. I needed space to think and act without their manipulation clouding my judgment. The next morning, I awoke to an Instagram notification. Madison had posted photos of her new luxury luggage set, purchased with my stolen card, with the caption, "Europe prep in full swing. Can't wait for this journey of self-discovery. #blessed #dreams.com. There wasn't a single acknowledgement of where the money had come from. Not even a thank you, genuine or otherwise. It was time to take action. The morning after my confrontation with my family, I took a personal day from work, something I rarely did. This situation required my full attention, and I needed to protect my financial security and professional reputation. An unauthorized $88,000 charge on my credit card could have ramifications beyond the immediate financial impact. My first call was to Benjamin, a law school friend who now specialized in financial crimes. I explained the situation, including the fact that my mother had been given my card details for emergencies only and had used the authentication codes sent to her phone. "This is straightforward unauthorized use," Benjamin confirmed. "The fact that it's family doesn't change the legal reality. You have clear grounds for both civil and criminal action. I don't want to press criminal charges against my parents if I can avoid it," I admitted. "But I need to protect myself." "Start with the credit card company," he advised. "Formally dispute the charges. Be honest about who made them and that it was unauthorized. Then we can discuss next steps based on how your family responds." My next call was to the credit card company. This time, I spoke with a fraud specialist and explained the entire situation without omitting any details. "I gave my mother access to my card information for emergencies only," I explained. "She used it without my permission to book an elaborate European vacation for my sister, totaling $88,000. I've confronted them, and they've refused to cancel the charges or repay me." The specialist was sympathetic but direct. "Since you previously provided your mother with the card information, this falls into a gray area between unauthorized use and friendly fraud. We'll need to conduct an investigation." "I understand," I replied. "What do you need from me?" "First, we'll temporarily freeze the card to prevent any additional charges. I recommend you dispute each charge individually through our online portal, providing any documentation you have that these were not authorized by you." I spent the next hour meticulously documenting every charge, taking screenshots of text messages that proved I hadn't authorized the spending, and writing a detailed timeline of events. Next, I called my bank and investment firms to ensure my mother didn't have access to any other accounts. Though I hadn't shared that information with her, the credit card breach made me realize I couldn't be too careful. What I discovered was alarming. My mother was still listed as an emergency contact on 2 of my accounts, something set up years ago when I first moved to Boston. While she couldn't withdraw funds, she could potentially access account information. I immediately removed her and updated all my security questions to information my family wouldn't know. I then placed a credit freeze with all 3 major credit bureaus to prevent anyone from opening new accounts in my name. Given that my mother had my social security number, she'd been the one to help me get my first job as a teenager, I couldn't rule out the possibility of her attempting to access credit in my name. By mid-afternoon, I'd secured all my financial accounts, changed every password, and set up 2-factor authentication wherever possible. I even ordered a new phone number to be activated the following day, the ultimate security measure since my mother had been receiving authentication texts to my current number. The credit card company called back with an update. "We've initiated the dispute process for all charges," the representative informed me. "The card has been frozen, and we're issuing you a new card with a new number. However, given the circumstances, we need to inform you that if your mother contests the dispute, you may need to file a police report to substantiate your claim of unauthorized use." I thanked them and hung up, feeling a mix of relief and dread. A police report would mean formally accusing my parents of theft, a line I wasn't sure I was ready to cross, despite everything. As I sat contemplating my next move, my work phone rang. It was Brooke, My assistant. Allison, I thought you should know your mother called the office looking for you. When I said you were unavailable, she asked some questions about your schedule for the week and mentioned something about a family emergency. A chill ran down my spine. Thank you for telling me. If she calls again, please don't share any information about my schedule or whereabouts. Of course, Brooke replied. Is everything okay? Not really, but I'm handling it. I appreciate your discretion. After hanging up, I realized I needed to inform my firm's compliance department about the situation. As a financial advisor, any significant financial irregularity in my personal life could potentially raise red flags with regulatory bodies. Transparency was the best approach. I arranged a meeting with Sandra, our chief compliance officer, and laid out the situation in clinical detail. She was understanding but thorough in her questions. I need to be clear, I assured her. This will not affect my work or my clients in any way. I'm taking all necessary steps to resolve it quickly and completely. I appreciate your transparency, Sandra replied. Document everything and keep me updated on any developments. If you need to take additional time off to handle this, just let me know. By late afternoon, I received notifications that hotel reservations and airline bookings made with my card were being canceled due to payment issues. My actions were having immediate effects. Then the barrage began. My email inbox filled with messages from my parents and Madison, having discovered that their grand plans were unraveling. The subject lines ranged from pleading, "Please call us," to angry, "You've ruined everything," to manipulative, "Mother is having chest pains from stress." I didn't open any of them. Instead, I called Ethan and asked him to come home early. They're escalating, I told him. I think they might show up here. I'll be home in 20, he promised. Sure enough, just as Ethan arrived, my building's doorman called up. Ms. Walker, your parents and a young woman are here asking to come up. They say it's an emergency. I exchanged a look with Ethan, who nodded supportively. You can send them up, James, I replied. But please stay on alert. If you hear raised voices or anything concerning, please call security. 10 minutes later, my family was at my door. My father looked grim, my mother's eyes were red from crying or pretending to. And Madison appeared simultaneously angry and frightened. I invited them in with cold politeness, and Ethan stood beside me, a silent pillar of support. What have you done? My father demanded without preamble. Madison's entire trip is being canceled. Hotels are calling, the airline emailed, everything's falling apart. I disputed the unauthorized charges on my credit card. I replied calmly. As is my right when someone uses my card without permission. We had permission. My mother cried. You gave me your card information. For emergencies only, I corrected her. Madison's luxury vacation is not an emergency. Madison stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? I already told everyone about my trip. I posted it online. I'm sorry you're embarrassed, I said, genuinely meaning it. But I didn't cause this situation. I didn't authorize these charges, and I made that clear when I discovered them. You can still authorize them, my father insisted. Just call the credit card company and tell them it was a misunderstanding. I shook my head. That's not going to happen. My mother's demeanor suddenly shifted from tearful to threatening. If you don't fix this, we'll tell the credit card company that you did authorize it. It will be your word against ours. Actually, Ethan interjected, speaking for the first time. Allison has documented evidence that she didn't authorize these charges, including text messages from all of you essentially admitting to using her card without permission. My father's face reddened. Stay out of this. This is a family matter. Ethan is my family, I replied firmly. And he's right. I have everything documented, including Mother's statement that the charges were my punishment for being cheap. My mother paled slightly at that. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice steady. You have two options. Option 1. You find a way to repay the $88,000 immediately, whether by taking out a loan, selling assets, or whatever means necessary. If you do that, I'll consider this matter closed. We don't have that kind of money just lying around, my father exploded. You know that. Then there's option 2, I continued as if he hadn't spoken. I complete the dispute process with my credit card company, which will likely require me to file a police report for unauthorized use and fraud. The charges will be reversed, but there will be legal consequences. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation finally seemed to sink in. You wouldn't dare file charges against your own parents, my mother finally said, though her voice lacked conviction. I don't want to, I admitted, but I will if necessary. What you did was not just a breach of trust, it was illegal. This is about more than just the money, isn't it? My father asked, his anger giving way to a dawning realization. Yes, I acknowledged. This is about years of disrespect, boundary violations, and treating me like a resource rather than a daughter. The $88,000 was just the final straw. Madison, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly looked up. Can you still help me have a trip? Maybe a scaled-down version? I really did my heart set on Europe this summer. I stared at her in disbelief. Even now, she was still asking for money. Before I could respond, my parents exchanged a glance that sent a warning signal through my mind. There's something you should know, my father said reluctantly. We can't repay the money. Not now, not anytime soon. Why not? I asked, though I suspected the answer. We've been having financial difficulties for years, he admitted. My retirement portfolio didn't perform as expected. The house needs major repairs we've been putting off. And we've been helping Madison with her rent and expenses. We're underwater, my mother added quietly. We've been using credit cards to stay afloat. That's why. She trailed off. That's why you thought using my card was acceptable, I finished for her. Because you're already in debt. How bad is it? Ethan asked. My father couldn't meet my eyes. About $140,000 in credit card debt, plus the underwater mortgage. The financial advisor in me was horrified. The daughter in me was heartbroken. Have you used my card before? I asked suddenly, a terrible suspicion forming. The ensuing silence was answer enough. How many times? How much? Just small amounts, my mother defended weakly. A few hundred here and there when things were tight. We were always careful to keep it small enough that you wouldn't notice. The betrayal cut even deeper. This wasn't a one-time, terrible decision. This was a pattern of theft they'd been engaging in for who knows how long. Get out, I said quietly. All of you. Now. Allison, please, my mother began. Now, I repeated, my voice like steel. I'll contact you in 48 hours with my decision about how to proceed. Until then, do not contact me, do not come here, do not try to involve other family members. As they filed out, Madison turned back. I never knew they were using your card without permission before. I swear. Whether that was true or not, I couldn't tell. And at that moment, I couldn't bring myself to care. After they left, I sank onto the sofa, emotionally drained. What am I going to do? I asked Ethan. They can't repay the money, but if I file a police report. He sat beside me and took my hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But remember what you always tell your clients. Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. It was advice I had given countless times in my professional capacity. Now I needed to apply it to my own life. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. After my family left my apartment, I found myself in a strange state of calm clarity. The shock had worn off, replaced by a methodical determination to protect myself while finding the least damaging resolution possible. My first action was to contact the remaining family members I trusted, my Aunt Catherine, my father's sister, and my cousin Michael, who was an accountant. I explained the situation without embellishment or emotional manipulation, simply laying out the facts. I'm not trying to turn anyone against them, I explained to Catherine during our call. But they're likely to reach out to you with their version of events, and I wanted you to understand what's actually happening. Catherine sighed heavily. I wish I could say I was surprised, Allison. Robert and Diana have always been financially creative. And the way they've treated you compared to Madison has been obvious to the entire family for years. Her validation was both comforting and painful. Others had seen the disparity, but no one had ever spoken up. They've already called me, she continued. Claimed you were having some kind of breakdown and punishing Madison out of jealousy. I didn't believe it, but I had no idea the reality was this serious. Michael was even more direct. This is criminal behavior, Allison. Family or not. Have you considered that if they've done this to you, they might be doing similar things to others? Grandma Julie has been looking confused about her bank statements lately. That thought opened up a whole new dimension of concern. If my parents were desperate enough to steal from me, their financially stable daughter, what might they do to more vulnerable family members? After these conversations, I made two decisions. First, I would not file a police report unless absolutely necessary. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to potentially send my parents to jail. Second, I would demand complete financial transparency and a formal repayment agreement as a condition for moving forward. The credit card company had already reversed most of the charges, though some merchants were contesting the disputes. They had also issued me a new card with a new number and closed the compromised account. My credit score had taken a hit from the high utilization ratio, but that would recover over time. When the 48 hours were up, I sent my parents and Madison an email rather than calling or meeting in person. Emotional manipulation was harder to employ in written communication. I've decided not to pursue criminal charges at this time, I wrote. However, my conditions for maintaining any relationship with all of you are as follows. 1. Complete financial transparency. I want to see all your accounts, debts, assets, and income sources. 2. A formal, legally binding repayment agreement for the charges that couldn't be reversed, approximately $15,000. 3. Family counseling to address the underlying issues that led to this situation. 4. No contact with me outside of these parameters for at least 30 days while I process this betrayal. If these terms are not acceptable, I will have no choice but to cut contact completely and reconsider my decision regarding legal action. Their response came within hours, a rambling email from my mother, alternating between tearful gratitude that I wasn't sending them to jail and subtle jabs about my harsh conditions and lack of understanding about family bonds. Reading between the lines, I could tell they were hoping to negotiate more favorable terms. I didn't respond. My terms weren't negotiable. 3 days later, my father called Ethan's phone, since I'd blocked their numbers on mine. We accept your conditions, he said when Ethan passed me the phone. All of them. When can we meet to go over our finances? We arranged to meet at Michael's office the following weekend. Having a neutral third party present, especially one with financial expertise, seemed prudent. What I discovered during that meeting was worse than I'd imagined. My parents weren't just in debt, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Years of living beyond their means, supporting Madison's lifestyle, and making poor investment decisions had left them with a negative net worth of nearly $200,000. Why didn't you come to me for help? I asked, genuinely bewildered. Not for money, but for financial advice. This is literally what I do for a living. We were embarrassed, my father admitted. You've always been so responsible with money. We didn't want you to think less of us. So instead, you stole from me? He had no answer for that. Madison sat silently throughout most of the meeting, her expression cycling between shame, anger, and shock as the full extent of our parents' financial distress was laid bare. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I had no idea it was this bad. They always made it seem like everything was fine, that helping me was no problem. I didn't know whether to believe her or not. Part of me thought she had to have suspected something. No one could be that oblivious. But the devastation on her face seemed genuine. What happens now? She asked. Now we make a plan, Michael answered, taking charge of the situation in his professional capacity. A realistic budget, debt consolidation, possibly bankruptcy protection, and a reasonable repayment schedule for what's owed to Allison. Over the next 4 hours, we hammered out the details. My parents would need to sell their house. It was too expensive for them anyway, given their retirement income. Madison would need to find a roommate and a stable job to support herself. No more parental subsidies. As for the money owed to me, we settled on a 5-year repayment plan with modest interest. It wasn't ideal, but it was realistic given their situation. And one more thing, I added as we were wrapping up. I need all of you to understand that our relationship is fundamentally changed. Trust has been broken, and it will take time to rebuild, if that's even possible. My mother began to protest, but my father placed a hand on her arm. We understand, he said quietly. We violated your trust in the worst way. We're lucky you're willing to give us any chance at all. It was the first genuinely remorseful thing either of them had said since this ordeal began. As we were leaving, Madison asked if she could speak with me privately. We walked to a nearby coffee shop and sat in awkward silence for a few minutes before she spoke. I've been thinking a lot about why I felt entitled to that trip, she said finally. Why I thought it was okay for Mom and Dad to use your card, even though deep down I must have known it wasn't right. I waited, not making it easier for her. I've always been jealous of you, she continued. You're so put together, so successful. Everyone respects you. I wanted what you have, but I wasn't willing to work for it the way you did. It was easier to just take. It's not too late to change, I told her. You're only 27. I got a job, she said, surprising me. Nothing glamorous, administrative assistant at a dental office. But it's a start. And I'm looking for a roommate for my apartment. It was a small step, but it was something. The next month was difficult. True to my conditions, my family kept their distance while I processed my feelings with Rachel's help. The family counseling sessions were uncomfortable but necessary, bringing to light decades of unhealthy dynamics and financial enabling. Gradually, painfully, we began to establish a new normal. Our relationship would never be the same. The easy trust was gone, replaced by cautious verification and clear boundaries. But there was a foundation for something potentially healthier in the future. 3 months after the initial discovery, I received the first repayment installment from my parents, a modest sum, but symbolic of their commitment to making amends. Madison had stuck with her job and was taking a community college course in office management. As for me, I had learned painful but valuable lessons about family, money, and the importance of boundaries. My credit score was recovering, and the financial impact, while significant, was manageable. The emotional impact would take longer to heal. You know what's ironic? I said to Ethan one evening as we reviewed our updated financial plan. This whole situation has made me better at my job. I have a deeper understanding now of how emotions and family dynamics can impact financial decisions. Expensive lesson, he remarked. Worth every penny, I replied, if it means never going through something like this again. 1 year has passed since that fateful Tuesday when I discovered the $88,000 charge on my credit card. So much has changed, some things for the worse, but many, surprisingly, for the better. My financial situation has stabilized completely. After a 6-month investigation, the credit card company resolved all disputed charges in my favor. My credit score, which had dropped nearly 70 points during the ordeal, has almost completely recovered. The freeze I placed on my credit has become a permanent feature of my financial life, a small inconvenience that provides significant peace of mind. More importantly, I've reclaimed my sense of security and autonomy. New accounts, new passwords, new phone number, new emergency contacts. I've rebuilt my financial infrastructure from the ground up, with security at its core. I no longer worry about unauthorized access or unexpected charges. That hypervigilance I felt in the immediate aftermath has faded into a healthy caution. My relationship with my family exists in a new reality, one with clearly defined boundaries and expectations. The weekly family counseling sessions continued for 6 months, painful but productive. We unearthed decades of unhealthy patterns, my parents' financial irresponsibility, their different expectations for Madison and me, my own reluctance to establish firm boundaries for fear of rejection. Dr. Martinez, our family therapist, helped us understand that what happened wasn't just about money, it was about respect, autonomy, and trust. Financial abuse, she explained, often masks deeper relationship issues. The money is just the vehicle. My parents followed through with the financial plan we established. They sold their too-large house and moved into a comfortable 2-bedroom condo that better suited their retirement needs and budget. The process was emotionally difficult for them, leaving the family home of 30 years, but ultimately liberating. We were house poor for so long, my father admitted during one session. Always trying to maintain appearances. They've made every scheduled repayment to me, modest monthly installments that will continue for several more years. The amount matters less than their consistency. Each payment rebuilds a small measure of trust. Madison's transformation has been the most surprising and heartening development. The administrative job she took at the dental office led to a promotion to office manager within 6 months. She enrolled in a business administration program at the local community college and maintains a 3.8 GPA. She found a roommate, created her first real budget, and hasn't asked our parents for financial help since that day in Michael's office. I needed to grow up, she told me over coffee last month, our new monthly tradition. For 27 years, I never had to face consequences. Everything was always taken care of for me. I thought that was love, but it was actually keeping me dependent and immature. She still dreams of traveling to Europe someday, but now she's saving for it herself, planning a more modest but meaningful trip for after she completes her associate's degree. I want to earn it, she explained. I think I'll appreciate it more that way. My professional life has taken an unexpected turn as well. After months of helping clients protect themselves from financial fraud perpetrated by strangers, I realized there was a gap in financial education around family financial abuse. With my firm's support, I developed a seminar series on financial boundaries in family relationships, drawing on my personal experience, anonymized, of course, and professional expertise. The response has been overwhelming. So many people have experienced financial pressure, manipulation, or outright abuse from family members, but felt too ashamed or guilty to address it. My seminars provide practical strategies for establishing healthy financial boundaries without completely severing family ties. Last month, I was asked to speak at a National Financial Advisors Conference on the topic. Standing at the podium, looking out at hundreds of colleagues, I felt a profound sense of purpose. My personal trauma had transformed into professional wisdom that could help others. The healing process hasn't been linear or easy. There are still moments of anger, grief, and resentment. Holidays are especially challenging. The old patterns try to reassert themselves, and I must consciously maintain my boundaries. My mother occasionally slips into passive-aggressive comments about my new rules, and my father sometimes becomes defensive about their past behavior. But there are also moments of genuine connection and growth. Last week, my father called to ask my advice about a retirement account decision, something he would never have done before. My mother has started volunteering at a financial literacy program for teens, saying she wants to help others avoid the mistakes she made. These small steps suggest real change, not just performance. Ethan has been my rock throughout this journey. His unwavering support and perspective helped me navigate the most difficult moments. We finally took that anniversary trip we'd been planning, a 2-week tour of the Pacific Northwest, funded by my own legitimately earned credit card points. It was during a sunset hike in Olympic National Park that I realized I felt truly at peace for the first time since the ordeal began. I never thought I'd say this, I told him as we watched the sun sink into the Pacific, but in some ways, I'm grateful this happened. Not for the betrayal or the financial impact, but for the clarity it brought. I know who I am now, what I value, and where my boundaries lie. The most profound lesson I've learned is that financial boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary for healthy relationships. Money is more than currency. It represents our time, energy, values, and choices. Allowing others to violate our financial boundaries is allowing them to violate our fundamental autonomy. I've also learned that enabling someone financially isn't helping them, it's preventing them from developing the skills and resilience they need to thrive independently. My parents thought they were showing love to Madison by sheltering her from financial reality. Instead, they were keeping her dependent and immature. Perhaps most importantly, I've learned that while family connections are precious, they must be built on mutual respect and trust. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's codependence. True family support means wanting the best for each other, not exploiting each other's resources or goodwill. If my story resonates with you, if you've ever felt pressure to provide financial support beyond your comfort level or had your boundaries violated by loved ones, know that you're not alone. Setting healthy financial boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for your well-being and for truly healthy relationships. Have you ever experienced financial pressure from family members? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story helped you gain perspective on your own situation, please like and subscribe for more content about navigating complex financial and family dynamics. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to protect their financial well-being, even from family. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, true love respects boundaries, financial and otherwise.